Good afternoon. We call the Senate Judiciary and Public Safety Committee to order today, Wednesday, January 22nd, 2025, and we have a quorum. Members, as you all know, we're in a rather unique situation here organizationally, and so it's my pleasure for the next couple of weeks, with an end date to be determined, to be sharing the chairmanship of this committee with Senator Limmer, with whom I have switched on and off over the years as full chair. And for now, we will be sharing the gavel duties, and look forward to working together with everyone through this process. Senator Limmer, did you have anything you'd like to say as it's our first meeting?
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I really didn't have a whole lot to say, but nevertheless, thank you for the opportunity. I wanted to, well, I look forward to working together with you. We don't know quite how long this kind of forced marriage is going to last, but nevertheless, we want to take advantage of participating and hopefully working on issues that you and I and our respective caucuses can agree on. We're looking forward to addressing all of the issues, especially budgetary issues this year, which is our priority, and look forward to working with all of the members of this committee and as we listen to testimony and try and solve the issues together that face the people of Minnesota. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Senator Limmer. I think since the committee is somewhat reconstituted also in membership, let's just go around and have each member introduce themselves briefly. And we're going to start to my right. So, Senator Limmer, who are you?
Well, I'm Senator Limmer. And I hail from Maple Grove, and I represent the far western area of Hennepin County, the cities of Medina, Independence, Greenfield, Corcoran, Loretto, and Maple Plain, in addition to about 90% of Maple Grove. I've served on a judiciary committee of some sort every year I've been in service, both in the House and Senate, and look forward to this year as well.
Senator Bruce Anderson, represent the county of Wright County, and I have part of Hennepin County with Rockford City spilling into the west side of Hennepin County, and then on the west side of my district, I pick up a township and a small city of Kingston. So I've been representing Wright County for a few years and been on the judiciary for a few times.
Jeff Howe, Senator from District 13. My district wraps around St. Cloud, encompassing parts of Benton and Stearns County. Pleasure to be back on judiciary. I served a number of years in the House in the Public Safety Committee, so pleasure to be back.
Hi, Senator Michael Kroon, District 32, Anoka County, Blaine, Ham Lake, Lexington, and Columbus. It's my district, my first term in the Senate, third year here in the Judiciary Committee. That's all I know, and happy to be back. Feels like home.
Senator Bill Liskey, Senate District 58. If you couldn't tell, this will be my first committee hearing so far. I've got a beautiful cardboard name tag. I represent the south half of Dakota County, the north half of Rice County, and then a little bit of Scott County and Goodhue County.
Senator Westrom was around, but he may have stepped out. Is that his briefcase that's there? All right, well, when he comes back, he can introduce himself. To my left.
Hello, I'm Claire Umu-Verbaten. I have really enjoyed serving as the vice chair of this committee for the last 2 years. And I represent District 66, which includes parts of St. Paul, Roseville, Falcon Heights, and Lauderdale.
Oh, Senator Jim Carlson. I live in Egan, and I represent most of the cities of Egan and Mendota Heights and some of the city of Burnsville. And I'm in my 17th year in the Senate, and I think I'm in the 5th year of being on the Judiciary Committee, 4th or 5th year.
I'm Judy Seeberger, Senator for District 41. I live in Afton. My district includes the most beautiful communities in the state. Afton, the Lakeland cities, Cottage Grove, Hastings, Lake Elmo, and Grant. This is my 3rd year on the Judiciary and Public Safety Committee. I am a proud practicing attorney and a paramedic, so this subject matter goes right into my wheelhouse, and I'm very pleased to be here.
Good afternoon. My name is Bonnie Westland. I am a state senator for Plymouth, the other part of Maple Grove, and the city of Medicine Lake. This is also my 3rd year on the committee, first term senator. My other life, I am a family law attorney, and I represent clients in a variety of family law proceedings, and I also provide various mediation and dispute resolution services, and I'm thrilled to be back.
I'm going to ask our nonpartisan staff to introduce yourselves as well, please. I didn't prepare you for this at all. You can figure it out.
I'm Ken Backus, Senate Counsel. I handle the criminal issues for the committee.
Mr. Chair, members, I am Priya Primo. I handle the civil law and data practices pieces, nonpartisan counsel.
Mr. Chairman and members, my name is Chris Turner. I'm the committee fiscal analyst.
I'd also like to recognize the partisan staff that's joining us here as well. On the GOP side, Angela Cook, who's co-committee administrator, I guess, under the current situation over there, and Linnea Michelson. I don't know if she's hiding there behind the pillar. All right. Thank you. And our DFL committee staff, Nicole Kaplan, is our co-committee administrator, and Zach Cullen is my committee legislative assistant. Is that the formal title? All right. Anyone?
I'm filling in. I'm with Senate DFL Research, Jackie Litem, Judiciary Committee.
Okay, great. See, that was quite a transformation Jackie made. All right. Great. Glad to have you here. And Senator Pappas is walking in. Senator Pappas, would you like to take a moment and introduce yourself?
Oh, I got here just in time.
Yes.
I did mention I'd be a few minutes late. Senator Sandy Pappas from St. Paul. I represent downtown and neighborhoods to the south, the north, and the west. Happy to be here. Was I supposed to do anything else?
Nope, that's it.
All right.
All right. I'm from Senate District 46, St. Louis Park, Hopkins, and part of Edina. I'm a practicing lawyer. Do mostly criminal defense, some employment work, and some civil litigation. In my real life, that's how I make a living. This is where my heart is. But don't tell my clients I said that. All right, we're going to start out. This is an informational hearing only, which is customary at the beginning of a session anyway, and particularly a budget session. So we're going to hear from a number of agencies today that receive their budget appropriations from the legislature. First up, the Minnesota Judicial Branch. Jeff Shorba is our state court administrator. Welcome, Mr. Shorba. We appreciate your being here, and we look forward to hearing what you have to say.
Thank you, Chair Latz, Chair Limmer, Vice Chairs, members. Very happy to be here. As the Senator said, my name is Jeff Shorba. I've been the state court administrator now for going on 13 years, so I'm very familiar with this committee. And we're pleased to do two things today. One is provide you sort of with an update on the investments you made in the last session, and to seek your support for our fiscal year 26-27 biennial budget request. The Judicial Branch's mission is enshrined in the Constitution. Article 1, Section 8 of the Minnesota Constitution promises every person in our state that they are entitled to access justice freely, promptly, and without delay. And upholding this promise is our fundamental purpose in the court system. We have 3 levels of court, the District Court, the Court of Appeals, and the Supreme Court. There are 87 district courts spread across the country, operating in 103 different locations. We have a total of 322 judges and roughly 2,800 court staff who process 1 million cases a year that are filed with our court system. Our current budget for fiscal year '25 is approximately $479 million, which is approximately 1% of the state budget. So we believe that's a modest investment in a court system that is viewed as one of the most innovative and well-managed in the entire country, and that's just not about me. Our district courts, our trial courts, are organized into districts, 10 districts across the state. They are set forth in statute, as you can see from the map. We have 2 one-county districts, Ramsey and St. Paul, Hennepin and Minneapolis. Our largest district is up there in northwest Minnesota, the 9th district, which is comprised of 17 counties and is bigger than 10 states in terms of geography, so quite large. These districts serve 2 important purposes. One is the election of judges, and the other is to organizationally help us with the administration of our court system. So each district has a chief judge and a district administrator who share responsibility for managing the affairs of the district. Turning now to our administrative structure, the Chief Justice, Natalie Hudson, is the administrative head of the system and responsible for the overall management of the judicial branch. She also serves an important role as chair of our Judicial Council, which is the single administrative policymaking body for our branch. Each of our 10 districts are represented on the council, consists of 25 members, 19 judges, and 6 administrators. I serve as the employee of the council, and my staff assist our council to do a lot of central administrative functions, HR, finance, legal research, IT, statewide programs. The Chief Justice, of course, also leads the Supreme Court, so she sort of has 2 jobs now, which continues to have the responsibility for regulating the practice of law. There's a Chief Judge of the Court of Appeals, appointed by the governor, and then there's a chief judge in each district who is elected by their bench. As part of our efforts to ensure fair and timely access to justice and uphold the constitutional rights of Minnesotans, our courts have the responsibility to deliver and pay for many different types of services pursuant to Minnesota statute. So we are required to pay for court interpreter costs, guardian litem services, mental health examinations in criminal and civil commitment cases, and jury program expenses. Our courts are seeing significant increases in the needs for many of these services, which I'll talk about in a minute when I get to our budget request. Here again is a reminder, you'll probably sense a theme here, that the judicial branch, the 3rd branch of government that protects the constitutional rights of Minnesotans and processes those 1 million cases, represents just a tiny fraction of our state's general fund budget. We are funded almost entirely through legislative appropriation. All of the revenue we collect, court fines and fees, is deposited in the state's general fund or goes to local government or other statutorily mandated programs. We do not retain any of that revenue. We are totally dependent on your appropriation to fund the vital work of our judiciary. So on behalf of the judiciary, I want to thank you for the significant investment in the state's justice system in 2023 and 2024. We generously received approximately $86 million in ongoing funding and approximately $52 million in one-time funding. Through these funds, we were able to make our compensation more competitive with our public sector peers, helping to ensure that we are able to get the judges and staff that we need to do our work. We eliminated the pandemic backlog of felony and gross misdemeanor cases. Many other states are still wrestling with the backlog from the pandemic, and we're proud to say that we've reduced our pending caseloads to pre-pandemic levels. We've enhanced courtroom technology to expand access to justice through the use of remote and hybrid hearings. We've temporarily addressed some budget deficits in critical court programs with one-time funding, but we're still seeing those costs go up. We also sustained 4 recently launched treatment courts with state funding, and we raised payment rates for court interpreters and provided a modest payment rate increase for psychological examiners. These investments really, and their impacts, highlight the power of partnership between the legislature and the judiciary. However, I'm now going to talk about some ongoing challenges that we still face. Before that, though, I'm proud to just fill you in a little bit on another year of important changes that we have launched in the judiciary. Earlier this year, the Judicial Council adopted a new district court hearing framework that will determine how our courts use both in-person and remote hearings to deliver justice from now into the future. The new framework reflects all of the lessons and experiences we gained leveraging remote hearing technology during the pandemic, and is the culmination of 3 years of work to listen to court users and make our courts more accessible and effective. This historic new framework will officially take effect on February 3rd. We'll operate under the framework for approximately a year and then evaluate how it is working. In addition, over the past few years, we launched several technological enhancements to improve the court experience, such as the Minnesota Digital Exhibit System, a new e-check-in system, and an online scheduling tool for DOC incarcerated individuals. We have strengthened, I believe, our partnership with justice partners to address justice-related issues. The Minnesota Council created a new mental health justice initiative to foster collaboration between the branch and its partners. And we're also meeting regularly with court interpreters and psychological examiners through newly established work groups to explore options for improving delivery of these critical court services. Now, the judicial branch's 26-27 budget request. We recognize that this session begins with a challenging budget forecast, requiring you to make difficult decisions how to allocate limited resources. And we are committed to working with you on that challenge, talking, answering questions, but at the same time, as a co-equal branch of government, we have a duty to our employees, judges, and frankly, the people of Minnesota to secure the funding necessary to fulfill our constitutional obligations. Justice delayed is justice denied. And given the modest share of the state budget allocated to the judiciary, we respectfully urge our partners in the executive and legislative branches to prioritize the essential role of the courts, which I think is more important today than we've ever seen. So the budget request is focused on helping our courts address some of the key challenges facing our judiciary at this moment. The first is our people. Our judges, our staff are the foundation of the court system. And the branch is facing significant recruitment and retention challenges that in some places may jeopardize its ability to sustain operations. The first key one is a compensation gap. We did a recent market study. This is not our opinion. This is the opinions of experts that revealed that we are still lagging behind other public sector employers. It creates a huge disadvantage, making it increasingly difficult to attract and retain talent. Since 2020, the branch's employee turnover rate has risen by 15%, while the number of applicants for each position has fallen by 27%. The leading reason, we survey every employee who leaves the branch, the leading reason is pay. Not working conditions, but pay. So to address these challenges, we are asking for an allocation to help us increase salaries by 6%. That's based on our market study to keep pace with other public sector employees. Establish our share of health insurance costs, they go up, and we just tag on to what MMB negotiates. So that's in the budget. And then as we have brought employees back to our building, the Judicial Center, our landlord, the Department of Administration, has told us that our lease costs are going to go up. So that is figured into this number as well. The next part of our budget request relates to digital accessibility. Justice must be accessible to all, including Minnesotans with disabilities. We have a long-standing commitment to providing accommodations that ensure access to our courts. In recent years, we've taken proactive steps to enhance the digital accessibility of our online resources. And in April of last year, the Department of Justice at the federal level issued a rule amending the Americans with Disabilities Act to establish specific digital accessibility requirements for state and local governments. Those requirements must be met by April 24th, 2026. To achieve compliance with these, we have launched a significant project to review and ensure that all of our online resources and content are digitally accessible and meet these new federal standards. It's a major undertaking, requiring the remediation of over 1 million web and case-related documents, revisions to over 1,800 web and Minnesota Court Information System templates, and updates to approximately 22 IT applications. The one-time funding we're asking for is going to be used to remediate our existing online resources, provide training on digital accessibility, and then there's a smaller out-year request which will help us maintain licensing and other costs, software costs for IT changes. This is an extremely important effort, not only for ensuring our compliance with federal guidelines, but also to ensure fair and timely access to court information and resources. I next want to talk about our efforts to improve how we share court records and information with our justice partners. Since 2003, the branch has provided electronic access to court documents and other case records for statewide justice partner agencies. Over the last 2 years, as you heard during the last session, vendor support for several of these aging applications was discontinued due to cybersecurity and ongoing maintenance concerns. In response, we formed a statewide work group of justice partners to discuss best practices and provide feedback on accessing court records. Through that user group, the branch held a series of 19 feedback sessions, which involved more than 100 individuals representing justice partner agencies, advocacy groups, and private attorneys. Through these sessions, the group identified many ways to improve how our courts share records and data. So again, we're asking for one-time funding, which would be used to develop and implement some of these great ideas that the work group came up with. And then, of course, there is some ongoing funding for software and licensing costs. This request is really an important investment in strengthening our collaboration with justice partners and ensuring the efficient and secure sharing of court records and information. Next, we need to talk a little bit about our psychological services. We are focused on trying to get the best psychological examiners to do competency and other kinds of exams. In the court system, we are mandated to provide those services and to pay for those services. The need continues to go up. Psychological evaluations in criminal and civil commitment cases has surged 143% since 2020. This has put significant pressure on the branch's capacity to meet this critical need, not only to pay for these rising costs, but frankly, to find someone to do them, to find an examiner. Examiners are retiring, and we are competing with everybody else to get them, and there's not as many new ones as we would like. So we appreciate the legislature's actions last time to raise the contract rate for examiners, to fund that from $125 to $136. But again, we've been meeting with the examiners, we've been looking at the market, and over the summer, we came to the conclusion that $136 just isn't enough to get PhD qualified psychiatrists and psychologists. So in this budget request, we are seeking to raise that rate from $136 to $175. Even at $175, we are probably still going to be funding less than some other parts of state government, like DHS, which uses these as well for sex offenses and other kinds of cases. So it's really crucial, and I know our psychological examiners will be coming to talk to you about why this is really, really important to them. Next, we want to talk a little bit about compensation we provide to Minnesotans called to jury service. Members of this committee and members of the House asked us to look into the issue of how can we better diversify our jury pools and get more people to show up for jury service. We, again, surveyed other states. We talked to the National Center for State Courts, and it was very clear that the current $20 per day that we pay jurors is not enough. They face transportation costs, parking, meals, childcare, and lost income from missed work if you are not compensated by your employer. And this creates barriers for many lower income individuals, small business owners, farmers, the list can go on and on and on. So we did, again, some focus groups with potential jurors and went out into the community and talked to them about it. And I think they think $20 is sort of laughable. And if you're a hairdresser or you're running a construction company, you can't afford to come and do jury duty at $20 a day. So to address these challenges, we are requesting to move that $20, and we had this same request last year, to $100 a day. It's based on two factors. One is looking at what the minimum wage is, timesing it by 8, simple math, gets you to about $100, and also looking what other jurisdictions are doing, ones that have been very successful in diversifying their jury pools. And looking at our neighbors, North Dakota now pays $100 for a full day of jury service, and I think we should be able to keep up with them. So that is the funding for jury. And then the last is some of the deficits that you see in our budget. Psychological evaluations, interpreters, jury services, separate from the jury per diem. All of these are growing. And as I said, psychological examinations have gone up 143%. The number of interpreter events have nearly doubled since 2019, covering 134 different languages now in Minnesota. And at the same time, as we tried to get rid of our backlog and held more jury trials, the cost of printing and postage have put a strain on that jury budget. Last year, you were gracious enough to provide temporary funding to address these deficits through fiscal year 27, and we really greatly appreciate that. However, as costs continue to rise, these are not showing a decline, and they're going to be permanent costs that we need to solve. So we have put money into the 28-29 request as tails to permanently try to fund those costs. So lastly, cybersecurity. This was also something that has been crucial to our branch. We have a lot of very sensitive information, and we want to protect it as much as possible. And so you gave us, again, some money one time for our cybersecurity program, but again, that gap will be created in 28, 29. These are ongoing costs, and we are trying our best to stay ahead of the cyber criminals who are very well-funded somehow and very tricky. And so we want to make sure that we are maintaining secure systems and assuring the judiciary can continue to defend against ongoing emerging threats. So, in conclusion, on this slide, you can see a summary of our overall biennial budget request. It's about a little over 12% increase to our base budget. We think it's fundamental. We had a lot of debate, a lot of discussion about what to put into this budget request. Judicial Council made that decision, as I've said to some of you in private meetings, in September, and a lot has changed since September. We had an election, we had a forecast, so we understand that you're going to have to grapple with some of these issues. But we do want to conclude with reminding this committee, and you're more experts on this than anyone, the branch is not another government agency. We are a co-equal branch of government, and actually, we believe, a cornerstone of our democracy. Your support represents a steadfast commitment to upholding the rule of law and ensuring that justice is accessible to all Minnesotans. We take great pride in the progress that we've achieved together, and with your continued partnership, we can further strengthen our judiciary and build a more equitable, effective, and resilient system for future generations. So thank you for your leadership, your dedication, and your commitment to the people of Minnesota. And I'd be happy at any time to take any questions or comments. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Shorba. We will entertain questions from members of the committee. Senator Westland, I'm told you have a question.
At least one. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Mr. Shorba. I have a couple of questions. So as I understand the core justice operation request, you're looking for an increase in judicial salaries by 6%. And then you have noted create a 6% employee compensation increase pool. Can you explain to me what that is and how that would operate?
Mr. Shorba.
Mr. Chair, Senator Westland. So the legislature sets the salaries of judges. So we do not do that. You decide how much they're going to get paid. In the branch, we have a sort of myriad of different employee groups. We have 3 labor unions. We have a whole bunch of unrepresented employees. And what we have tried to do in the branch is to make sure that we are compensating people for the good work that they do. And so we have what we call a compensation pool, and then we look at that compensation pool and look at our employees and negotiate with our unions. And really, it's merit-based. We don't give across-the-board increases to employees. We look at their evaluations, and if you're a stellar employee and get the highest rating, you might get a little bit more than 6%. But if you're somebody who requires a lot of improvement, you might get less than 6%. We've had that system in place for well over 10 years, and our employees really like it, especially if you're a good employee. So that's the system.
Senator Westland.
Just as a follow-up to that, I know you mentioned that there's been a significant decline in the number of applicants for positions, and I assume that those are the non-judicial officer positions. And so one question I have for you on that, in that regard is, do you have an idea of how many unfilled positions there are sort of throughout the system?
Mr. Shorba.
Mr. Chair, Senator Westland, I don't have a number today, but I can tell you that most of them are filled. We're 90% people. So in order to do our work, we have to fill these positions. So we may not get always the best applicant pool, but we definitely have to fill the positions in order to get our work done. So I would say our number of unfilled positions is very, very low.
Okay.
Senator
Mr.
Wesson.
Just one final question. So I know one of the things that we find certainly within family law and with our family court, where there are designated family courts, is that, and I think this is true across the other areas of practice, somewhere around 70% of litigants in a family court proceeding, either one or both, are unrepresented. This continues to be, in my view, an enormous problem, both in terms of the delivery of justice for people coming to court, but I think it also places a significant burden on our judicial officers who are hearing these cases, staff, and so on. And so I know there have been various pilot projects that have been tried in the past to maybe provide unbundled services, specifically in family law, on the front end, to provide some kind of representation for parties through the initial case management process and maybe through early neutral evaluation. And what we know is that in those cases that are participants in those processes, 70, 80% of those cases settle actually in one of those processes. So I'm wondering if there is some consideration for looking at the I'm going to make another editorial comment about ENEs, ICMCs, and so on. There are judicial officers throughout the state who just don't do them. So that's my editorial comment. That's problematic. But does the branch have any ideas or concerns about how to address sort of the early intervention in cases, particularly, I would say, family and civil cases, in order to get people off a litigation track where you've got unrepresented parties who just bog the system down?
Mr. Shorba.
Mr. Chair, Representative Westland, there are about 7 problems you just issued in that statement, so I'll try to address them. We obviously are very concerned as well with the whole number of self-represented litigants. And so we have stood up a number of different self-help centers to help with that in the metro area, but also greater Minnesota. We have a statewide center. What's one way we're dealing with it? We have a whole range of training materials and information on ECMs and ICMs, and, I can't force the judges to do it, but we are trying to encourage. If I'd had that power, I'd be, I don't know. But we have put the resources out there. I think the people who do them are exactly saying what you're saying, that it gets people off the litigation track. We have tried to change some of our rules with regard to civil cases, especially business cases, to try to do off the litigation track to get those to be dealt with. We have put together a paraprofessional program so that people maybe don't have to pay for lawyers, but they could pay for a paralegal. And we're training them in the family area and some other areas where we're landlord-tenant, where we're seeing concerns. So we're doing a lot. I don't think the problem is solved at all. And if you have any ideas, you just call me up. I'll happy come over to your office and hear.
Mr. Chair.
Senator Wesson.
I would love to just give you a bunch more money, but I don't think that's going to happen because I would like to see so many other things done within the judicial system, especially in the family court area, that would make things better. We don't have that, and so I think the other thing that we're looking at, especially this year, is, so what are, everyone keeps talking about cost containment, and I think there's only so many things that the judicial branch can do to contain costs and still provide justice services that people expect. But that's a conversation for a different day, but I certainly fully support funding our judiciary.
Thank you.
Mr. Shorba, to follow up on Senator Weston's question about unfilled positions, over the last few years, I've had a number of judges tell me that they're having difficulty filling their law clerk positions. The number of applicants is way down, and the quality of the applicants is a concern as well. And these are lawyers. The clerk is really a misnomer. These are lawyers, graduates of law school who are providing legal services directly to the judges. Have you gotten any recent feedback on that? Is it still a concern?
Mr. Chair, we spent a lot of time, a lot of effort, and your money to try to increase our law clerk recruitment. So we had a whole committee of judges and staff looking at it. We used to have a salary structure where if you were a first-year law clerk, you got paid X, and if you were a second year, you got paid X, but if you stayed for 10 years, you still got paid that second-year rate. We totally changed our compensation structure. We went to the merit model that I was just talking to Senator Westland about for law clerks. So we were able to increase, with the money you gave us, that pool of resources that we put towards law clerks, and it's helping. I don't have the statistics in my fingertips, but we are seeing more people applying, and we're seeing some really good experienced people who want to stay and be a law clerk as a permanent job. So I do think we're making progress.
I appreciate that. I know it's also been a factor in judicial burnout. Judges are overworked because they're writing more briefs and decisions than they used to write that law clerks would do. And as a result, I know some are retiring earlier than they might otherwise just because of the burnout factor. But I appreciate that. Any other members of the committee have any follow-up questions for Mr. Shorba? Senator Kroon.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of funding needs that still need to be addressed, it sounds like, particularly sensitive to the law clerk issue, being a former law clerk myself, knowing how competitive that market is. And I'm just, with the budget forecast that's looming out there and kind of the practical challenges that we're facing with not large pools of money out there to address all of these specific needs that you've outlined, I guess I'm trying to take a kind of a broader approach to this conversation just to see if there's any maybe non-conventional ways of helping out. But is there any, would providing the courts with more flexibility on how you spend your existing budget, would that be helpful to the courts at all?
Mr. Shorba.
Mr. Chair, Senator Kroon, I think you provide us pretty good flexibility. I used to work in the executive branch, and we had a lot more rules in terms of spending. The way that money is appropriated to the judiciary is one bucket for the Supreme Court in my office, one bucket for the Court of Appeals, and one bucket for the district courts. And then the council has the flexibility to decide how to allocate those funds. So we appreciate that flexibility, and believe me, we are trying to be as efficient with those dollars as possible. So I think we're in pretty good shape.
Senator Kroon.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Okay, that's helpful. And I'm just trying to think of other ways, and it sounds like, I mean, and the flexibility should be there. I mean, this, like you've pointed out, this isn't a state agency. And it's, I think we need to figure out ways to make this happen, and particularly in the constitutionally mandated areas of the courts. You don't really have any discretion, unlike a lot of state agencies, where a lot of these things that they're getting funding for are wants. They're not constitutionally mandated needs. And so I think to tell that story and to point out the differences between the courts and other state agencies is important, because having a well-functioning court system is critical for our state. And so I look forward to working with you throughout the course of the year. I don't know what kind of twists and turns and all that stuff that's going to go on, but hopefully we can continue to work together so that we can figure out a way to solve some of these pressing financial needs for the courts. Thanks.
Mr. Shorba, you talked about digital accessibility and the ADA mandates or accessibility requirements, and you've identified $5.1 million worth of request in the next 2 years. How much of that would you consider to be basically a federal law mandate to bring you in compliance with the ADA?
Well, Mr. Chair, it's all a federal law mandate. I mean, that's what we're trying to meet is the new federal rule. We've been working on it, but now we've got a rule and we got a deadline. And so in order to comply with those requirements by April of 2026, we need the resources. Some of it is going to be expertise, some of it is going to be extra help, temporary help, and some of it's going to be technology. I think there was funding provided to both the legislature and the executive branch to do exactly what we're asking for. So we're learning from them. We're talking to some of the agencies about what they've done. But it's all a federal mandate, but also good government, that we want people, especially in our court system, to have access. So if you're not able to use your reader and find a document, that's a problem. And so we're doing it for two reasons.
Are there any opportunities for collaboration with the executive branch and the expertise there?
Mr. Chair, yes,
Sharma.
and we are talking to them. We have a whole project team that is looking at what executive branch or even the legislature has done.
Okay. I mean, in terms of providing some of the services that you would need to fund with the $5 million.
We haven't had a lot of volunteers for that. But maybe some expertise, yeah.
Also, with the Justice Partner Access component, is there any sense of the $4 million requested for the first biennium here, of whether that could be stretched out at all?
Mr. Chair, anything is possible, and we'll certainly talk to you about your wishes in terms of looking at different ways to spend the numbers. It's just going to take longer. So, as you know, from the hearings we had last time, there's a big demand for some change here, and we wanted to be as collaborative, based on some of your advice, to work with our partners. But sure, spreading it out will just take longer. We could pick parts of the project that we think are higher priorities and do those, but we just couldn't do the whole thing.
Harkening back to some of those conversations, as you know, the private bar would love to be able to access their own case documents in the judicial electronic system. We've talked about access to the MGA for the private bar. As a criminal defense lawyer, I can't even access all of my own clients' case documents on the internet. I have to go into the courthouse to get it. Or I call the prosecutors and ask them to send them to me, which is not very a good show. So I'd like to continue the conversation about private attorney access to MGA, the Minnesota Government Access System, that the public defenders and the prosecutors have access to, but those of us in the private bar don't. And as you know, I've also got an interest, as do I think most lawyers in the state, in having easier access to the courthouses without having to go through the security screening. As we're watching the prosecutors walking through, in many cases, without any screening at all, while we're standing there with the jury pool in our cases, waiting to be screened. It doesn't look like equal justice, not to mention the time and the hassle of going through that for officers of the court. So I know that we're making maybe a little bit of progress with one county that's
what I
agreed
hear.
to pilot it. But we got a long ways to go on that, and I hope we can continue that conversation, because everyone is pointing the finger at someone else, saying it's not our control, it's their control. Someone's controlling this and making these decisions, so we'd like your help with that. Do you happen to know what the DHS rate is for compensation for the forensic examiners?
Mr. Chair, I believe it's in the range of $220 an hour.
And right now, the court's at 136, and you're asking to go up to 175.
Correct.
Yet the same examiners, the same qualifications could go over to DHS and get paid almost $100 more an hour than they're getting paid now in the judicial branch, right?
Correct, Mr. Chair.
We've got defendants, and I assume on the civil side the same thing, sitting in jail, waiting for the forensic examiners to find time to squeeze in the evaluation or the examination, especially people who are in that situation are not always very good at showing up if they're released from jail to come back in for the examination. So sometimes the only solution is to hold them until the forensic examiner can get there, which is not necessarily the healthiest for the individuals, and it's certainly at a higher cost for the jails as well. So there are a lot of good reasons to try to close that gap. The only other question I have, and maybe need to ask the Chief Justice this and not you, but if you can find some way that we can annex the Williston oil fields in North Dakota and get access to the revenues, it'll be easier to increase the jury per diem to North Dakota's level.
I'll ask her about that, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Senator Limmer, do you have a question for Mr. Shorma?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Shorba, you mentioned a little bit the percentage of, or not in a percentage, but the dollar amount compared to the state budget. Do you have a rough idea on a percentage basis what this state and its budget contributes to the judiciary branch?
Mr. Shorba.
Mr. Chair, Senator Limmer, we're a little less, and Mr. Turner can correct me, but we're a little less than 1.5% of the general fund.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned it in a percentage, because quite honestly, we listen to numbers, big numbers all day long, but pretty soon it starts to just go in one ear and out the other. I really need to emphasize 1.5% of this state's budget goes to the judicial branch. Comparing that to other government agencies and departments that have a very narrow role, a mission in this state compared to what our judicial branch is, as it's designed to protect the civil liberties of our people. It's very important that we keep an eye on not only the dollars, but the percentage of what we commit to the judicial branch. I agree with you, Mr. Shorba, that judicial branch is, it's a cornerstone to our democracy. And over the years, we kind of forget that. We kind of treat it as a government agency or a department. I think it's very important for us to remind ourselves of what their role is in the courts. I couldn't help, having said that, I couldn't help looking at the governor's budget the other day, and it isn't quite meeting the requests that you have. Now, I'm not saying this to gang up on this governor. Governors always seem to do this, and it's on both sides of the aisle. But quite honestly, I think we'll have to have a little more discussion with our friends in the administration regarding the budget that they proposed for the judicial branch. Because quite honestly, I think it's inadequate in light of the demands, in light of keeping the courts on the cutting edge of technology, whether or not there'd be an increase in court dockets or not, always should be, we should have the judicial branch fully equipped to handle that. I don't think they're running on a king's ransom either, quite honestly. Some of their ideas to expand in certain areas, it's a policy discussion that we should air here, but nevertheless, I am concerned about how we're going to end up the budget at the end of this session, and I hope that this committee would recognize, and they always have in the past, as best their ability to fund the judicial branch, and keeping in mind that this is our little tiny sliver of the pie in our state budget, and that the dollar amounts, when you compare it to the larger whole, is quite minimal, but it's so vitally important. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Senator Limmer, I will team with you, and I hope with all the members of this committee to be advocates when the time comes and the allocations are decided at level above us as to what our allocation will be in this committee to appropriate for the judicial branch, to ask for full funding for that. And we can all press our leadership, not just the executive branch, but our own legislative leadership to adequately fund this branch. Senator Kroon.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. One thing I thought of, and it gets circling back to what I talked about earlier, and you said you already have maximum flexibility essentially in how you spend your money, but I've heard like about carry forward funding, and I get that you don't have it. Would it be helpful to have it? But I'm not understanding exactly how it would be helpful if you already have maximum flexibility in how you spend your money. But I don't know if you care to comment on that, if that's something that the courts would like to have, and if so, how it might be helpful.
Mr. Chair, Senator Kroon, we would love to have carry forward authority. You gave us some carry forward authority last session for these mandated service costs that we have in 26 and 27. But when we don't have it, like the legislature does, you're tempted to just try to do all the projects you can in the last 6 months to make sure you're spending the money. So if we had some carry forward authority, it would incentivize a whole different way of spending. And we have been thinking, and I'll come talk to you if you'd like, that somebody should introduce something to allow us to have that carry forward authority for a larger amount than just the mandated services. But that, of course, has all kinds of other implications for the general fund. But
Senator Kroon, last question.
I was told that this was for discussional purposes only, but
It is.
no, I'm happy to talk with you. Thank you.
All right, members, we're going to move on now to some of the other agencies to present to us. Mr. Shorba, thank you so much. We look forward to seeing you again.
thank you.
All right. We'll now invite the public defenders to come forward. When you are ready, if you'd go ahead and introduce yourselves, please, for the public record, and then you can begin with your presentation.
Mr. Chair, my name is Bill Ward. I'm the State Public Defender.
Mr. Chairman, can you all see that? Okay. We had a
Yeah,
little
we saw
trouble with
the
that.
fishing photo, too. Thank you.
So, Mr. Chairman and members, my name's Kevin Kyer. I'm the Chief Administrator for the Board of Public Defense. So, Mr. Chairman, members, the board is an independent board within the judicial branch. We have 5 lawyer members appointed by the Supreme Court. We have 4 non-lawyer members appointed by the governor. We provide mandated services and only mandated services in every county courthouse, the appellate courts in Minnesota. We have approximately 1,000 total staff. About 600 of those, or a little over 600, are assistant public defenders. About 25% of our assistant public defenders are part-time. They run their private practices, and they work part-time for us. This is really the backbone of public defense in greater Minnesota. They handle whatever cases they are come down the pipe, whatever comes on the particular calendar that they are assigned to. They also provide a very cost-effective way of handling conflict cases. Because they're not housed in our offices, we can farm those conflict cases out to them rather than contract for private attorney services. As I mentioned, the board provides nothing but mandated services. It is either mandated by Constitution or by statute. Anytime there is a loss of liberty, and that's at stake, and individuals entitled to representation. Statutorily, we also provide services to children 10 years of age and older in child protection cases. The budget, which I know everybody's interested in, is approximately $164 million a year. You can see here about 90% of the budget is on our district public defense level, another 6% on our appellate level. You are looking at about 30% of the central administration of this organization. It is a very lean organization, as I know we've talked to a number of you over the years about. The budget by area, approximately 90% of the budget is personnel. Another 6 or 7% is what we call mandated service or mandated costs. Those are things like rent, mileage, data lines, phones, something where we've got a contractual obligation to pay. Roughly 2% is our other costs, and those are generally case-generated or case-related costs, things like grand jury transcripts, appellate transcripts, expert witness fees. Again, so those are case-related and case-driven costs. We are the largest user of the court system. Roughly 130,000 cases on the trial level each year. You can see in the slide about 3,600 direct appeals a year that are handled, and roughly almost 4,000, a little less than that, in our supervised release or what we used to call parole revocation hearings. I think it's important to note, Mr. Chairman, for those of you who haven't been on the committee before, is our workloads and our cases are controlled by outside factors. We don't decide what cases to take and which ones we don't. Public defenders in this state are mandated to take whatever cases come down the pipe. I liken it, and some of you have heard me say this before, is if you're driving down 94 between Minneapolis and St. Paul, and there's 20 potholes, and the DOT only has the money to fill 10 of those, we swerve around the other 10. If our public defenders have 20 clients in the courthouse waiting to talk to them or in their office, they can't say, well, I'm only going to get to 10 of you today. It doesn't work that way. Again, we are mandated to take those cases. At the same time, our lawyers are held to the same ethical standards as all the private lawyers are as well. And we have seen a pretty significant increase in the number of complaints filed against lawyers in the last several years with the Professional Responsibility Board. So it does make it a difficult situation budget-wise, and we're going to talk about that in a little bit. About 90% of the budget is personnel, 96% of it is committed to mandated costs, and at the same time, we really don't have any, there's no valve to remove the cases from the system. We've got to take whatever comes along. The workloads and challenges. Obviously, we just talked about a couple of them. Right now, our caseloads are at the lowest point they have been since I've been doing this work. And yet, if you look at this screen, a public defender has roughly 4.5 hours to address a case unit. And a case unit is how we compare caseloads across district lines and within a district, because a lot of our lawyers do different kinds of work. They represent folks on felonies, they represent folks on misdemeanor cases, gross misdemeanor cases. A case unit is approximately equal to a misdemeanor. So right now, even under the best of circumstances, and Mr. Chairman, thank you to you and to Senator Limmer for the support over the years. 2 years ago, we were able to add a number of folks to bring those caseloads down. They're still at 4.5 hours on average for handling those case units. And if you look at that screen, those are all the things that a defense attorney has to be doing on each one of those cases. Our public defender, I mentioned that our caseloads are at the lowest point. They are meeting our caseload standards. Our caseload standards are from 1991. If you could imagine, those of you that practice, it's a total different practice today than it is compared to 1991. Those of you who've been in the legislature since then understand it's a total different business today than it was when you started in the 1990s. In 2023, the RAND Corporation did a study of 17 caseload studies in 17 different states. And they put that together and came up with a national standard for caseloads that you can see on this slide. Our caseload standards are 2 to 3 times higher than what the RAND Corporation found. We are in the process right now of developing a state standard. I don't believe that our state standard is going to be as low as what they are talking about here or what the RAND Corporation found, but it's certainly going to be lower than it was in 1991. So we're operating on a 34-year-old standard. Why is that? What's going on? A huge piece of this is audio and video. You can see on this slide, in 2023, we received 280 terabytes of data of audio and video. In the first 6 months of last year, we received the same 280 terabytes exclusive of Hennepin County. We've only got, I think we're up to 58 or 60 counties that are actually on our system in terms of that data exchange. That's the equivalent of 70,000 two-hour movies. That all has to be reviewed by our assistant public defenders when they go to court or when they are involved in a case. In a simple assault, what used to be somebody's word or the police officer's report is now 5 or 6 cameras, maybe more. We are working with our tech staff to develop ways that people can see multiple views at a time, multiple videos at a time. We're working with them in terms of having them transcribe some of those videos, but that takes time. It's not an easy solution, and it takes, frankly, and it takes money. What else has changed? Scientific evidence. Not only DNA, which is much more prevalent. What used to be reserved for sexual assault cases or homicide cases is now expanded to a number of cases, right? Touch DNA, cold case files now. Our phones, our computers, the electronic forensics, if you will. All of that has to be analyzed. All it has to be reviewed. Clients with chemical dependency, mental health, and traumatic brain injuries. I know that you have talked about that in this committee on a number of occasions. I know that you have all talked to your local county sheriffs about the challenges that they face with inmates in their county jails. It is the same population that we're dealing with. It is not only in chemical dependency, mental health, the combination of the two, and one that hasn't had as much discussion about it, but we certainly are seeing it in our clients, are those with traumatic brain injuries. And that's more and more of what we are seeing. Again, it makes it difficult for those assistant public defenders and staff to be working with those folks, particularly in a situation where they're going to court, they're scared to begin with, and now they have some other kind of issues that they're dealing with. Language and cultural barriers. We've talked about this before as well. Our demographics are changing. You heard Mr. Shorba talk about the need for interpreters. We have that exact same need. Roles of not only having interpreters, but also having interpreters that speak the actual dialect. We've run into that on a number of occasions, where yes, they speak the same language, but there are different dialects within the language, and different phrases mean different things, depending on what dialect that you're speaking or hearing. Our lawyers have an obligation to not only to explain to our clients about their plea agreements, but also about their immigration consequences. It isn't that we do immigration work, but that is part of what they are responsible for under Supreme Court decisions, to inform people of what their options are or what's going to happen to them. And again, if they aren't doing that, they can be held liable for that in terms of a professional responsibility complaint. Talk about the budget a little bit. Mr. Chairman and members, we have a very simple budget request. It is really in 2 parts. The first one that you see here is start addressing those workloads that we've talked about. It is our goal over the next 2-year period with the funding is to reduce our caseloads by 15% over the next 2-year period. As I mentioned, our caseload standards are 2 to 3 times higher of where that national standard is. I don't believe we're going to be there when our study is all done, but we got to start moving in that direction. And that's the first piece of the budget request. We know what the budget situation is. I've been doing this an awfully long time. But I also know that the commitment that this committee has had, and as Senator Limmer mentioned, and as Senator Latz mentioned, about pressing the leadership for these constitutionally mandated services. The second piece is building on success. Excuse me. Thanks to this committee, thanks to the legislature in general, we were finally able to meet parity with prosecutors on salaries for the first time ever 2 years ago. It's the first time in all the time I've been doing this, we were able to even come close. We finally were able to do that. We cut our resignation rates, not our overall attrition, but our resignation rates by over 50%. You can see on this chart, the light blue is how we've been able to keep people and frankly, keep them from moving to other public agencies. That's been kind of our goal, right, and where our standard is. If somebody wants to move into the private sector, into private attorney work, there's not a lot we can do about that. But we certainly want to be able to compete with other public entities. So we've been able to cut that resignation rate from about 15% down to about 5 or 6%. So that's been really very, very helpful. And again, thank you all for the support on that. We have increased our applicant pools by about 1/3. They were down somewhere around 60% coming out of COVID, so we're still not back to where we were, but those are improving. I will say that those of you from greater Minnesota, we are still having a difficult time attracting folks there. And that's a whole lot of other reasons that I think you find in any of the professional areas. But it has been helpful. The budget request here is to maintain those increases for the next 2-year period so that we're able to compete with the prosecutors. I know you've all been talking to your county boards about their property tax increase proposals this fall and this winter. And one of the main reasons that they've been giving you is that their labor costs are increasing in order to keep the people that they have. And we're in the same position. So we can't slide back. We've worked too hard at getting there. You all have worked too hard to get us there. And we really can't slide back because we will be back into the same position we were when we came to you 2 years ago with a 15% resignation rate. In the 9th Judicial District, we had a 40% vacancy rate because we couldn't find any lawyers up there to do the work. So we've been able to find people to do it, and now we've got to be able to keep them. So, Mr. Chairman, that's our presentation. As I said, it's pretty simple, it's pretty straightforward. And we're happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you, Mr. Kyer. Any questions from members of the committee? You know, I was in the public safety facility in Minneapolis this morning for court, and I was going through security, and the security guard took a look through the glass at the lobby in front of the courtrooms. And he said, well, how do you keep track of all those cases in there? You know, you got so many clients, and you keep it all in your head with all their different facts and their legal issues and everything else? And I said, well, I'm not the public defender, so I don't have to do that. I had 3 on this morning, and that was enough for me. But that hallway was packed, and they were almost all public defender cases. You know, the public defenders are amazing, the amount of work that they do and how they care for their clients. But I won't say it's impossible because I don't want to set anyone up for any complaints, but it's a really challenging task to do justice for each one of their clients in those situations. And I see that in courtrooms all over Hennepin County, which is my regular locations, and I'm sure it's the way We had, when I first started out, we had a public defender from Washington County came in and said 60% of his caseload was driving after withdrawal cases. And we've taken some steps to try to reduce the incidence of that, over the years with statutory changes and so on. But it's still that the caseload is enormous. So I want to recognize and appreciate all the work that the public defenders do in this state. And I'll tell you, some of the very best lawyers I've ever seen are in the public defender's office. So those clients are getting really good service. They are, just the caseloads are enormous.
Thank you for the comments.
Anyone else on the committee have anything you'd like to add or any questions for our testifiers today? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
We will invite Civil Legal Services to come forward, please. So we've got Dory Rappaport from Justice North. Thank you for coming down to the warmer part of the state to spend some time with us here. And we have Milo Mumgard from Mid-Minnesota Legal Aid as well. When you're all set up, you can introduce yourselves and go ahead and present your evidence.
Mr. Chair, members of the committee, good afternoon. I am Dory Rappaport, the Executive Director at Justice North.
Good afternoon, Chair and members of the committee. Milo Mumgard. I'm the Executive Director of Mid-Minnesota Legal Aid. I joined the legal services system here in 2024, so I'm relatively new.
Welcome.
We're excited to have an opportunity to talk with you today, and it's nice to see all of you. We're going to start by telling you a story. So I'm going to tell you about Lisa. Lisa is a young mother. She had 3 small children, and she was in an abusive marriage. They were living in another state, and her husband said, we're going to uproot our family and move to a town in northern Minnesota, where Lisa knew no one. She had no family, no friends, no community. And as soon as they moved to this town in northern Minnesota, he sexually assaulted her. And she had also found out that she was pregnant with their 4th child. But she said, no, this is enough. I'm not taking this anymore. I want a divorce. And her husband filed a falsified order for protection against her, which left her having no contact with her 3 small children, no home, no cell phone, no access to email, no access to social media, nothing. She was shut off from everyone. And so she was luckily very resilient, and she was able to find temporary transitional housing, and she started taking classes and started working in the medical industry, low-paying job, really hard hours. And she did end up, she needed to wait. She couldn't file for divorce, and most of you probably know that when you move to a new state, you have to wait 6 months before you can file for divorce. So she had no real legal remedy, and she did the best that she could until she finally was able to come to legal aid. Now, I'll tell you, it was a year and a half before she actually saw her 3 minor children. And during that horrible year and a half, she struggled with employment, she struggled with maintaining housing, she gave birth to her 4th child, she had to pay $1,300 a month to pay for infant childcare so she could bring home $2,000 a month to then pay for just basic needs, maybe. And at that time, at that 6-month mark, legal aid was there to help her get justice. And so legal aid filed the petition, filed motions, but this husband wanted her to have nothing to do with the children. So even though there were temporary orders, he didn't follow them. And so this case, as I'm sure you can predict, drug on and on. And finally, I'm not kidding, we found out yesterday. Oh, I just want to say, there was like 3 days of trial. Like, this was a very hard family law case. We found out yesterday that Lisa got sole physical custody of all of her children and the majority of parenting time and child support and a financial settlement so she can get her own home. This happened because of the investment in civil legal aid. This made a huge difference in these children's lives and this mother's life, and the right outcome happened. If we hadn't represented her, you know that she would have a completely different course of what she'd probably still be in transitional housing, dealing with homelessness, and probably not having any contact with her children. So, thank you for your continued investment and support of the work at Civil Legal Services. Now, in this next slide, you'll see a quote from Jim Sandman. He is the former president of the Legal Services Corporation. And it's most Americans don't realize that you can have your home taken away, your children taken away, and you can be a victim of domestic violence, but you have no constitutional right to a lawyer to protect you. That's just the reality of our system. But we are very thankful that that's not the reality in Minnesota. We've talked about the 3 legs of the stool of justice for decades. Each leg that you see here, civil legal services, the judicial branch, and the public defenders, they're all needed to ensure that there's a strong and evenly balanced structure to support our entire justice system. As Senator Limmer said earlier in our hearing today, the justice system is the cornerstone of our democracy. And each of these components of the justice system are vital in ensuring that there is justice for Minnesotans. Without one leg of the stool, the system falters and truly becomes unstable.
Well, I'd like to introduce myself a little bit more. I actually have come from other states in which I have been the executive director of legal aid programs. I was most recently in Little Rock with the Arkansas program, where I ran that program. Prior to that, the Nebraska program in Omaha. My background is almost entirely in rural legal services, in which it's the challenge of how do we deliver civil legal aid in low population, but yet still high need areas. And so coming here to Mid-Minnesota Legal Aid, where we have offices in Minneapolis, but also in St. Cloud and Wilmer, is something that's totally of my background, and I'm thrilled to be here. And why am I thrilled to be here? For every reason that Dory just gave. When you think about the investment that the state of Minnesota has made in its civil legal services system, which includes not just the programs like Mid-Minnesota Legal Aid or Justice North, but the variety of other service providers that are able to meet the needs to a certain degree of constituencies and hard-hit communities and so on around the state, there really is no comparison between Minnesota and other states. The investment you've made, and I can say this because I've worked in a lot of states, is actually a demonstration of a value that Minnesota has, obviously, of seeking justice for all and actually trying to get there. And I would have to say it's very hard to do, very hard to get to justice for all. But in Minnesota, we're closer than almost anywhere through the investment that's been made. And this particular slide here demonstrates that the Minnesota Civil Legal Services programs that are supported by the state of Minnesota are rather extensive. You have the regional programs, of course, that provide the basic legal services of the sort that Justice North and Mid-Minnesota Legal Aid provide. keeping people in their homes and making sure that folks have the ability to deal with family stability and things of that nature. But also, as mentioned here, the targeted programs, as we refer to them, which engage with the private bar, making sure that the pro bono programs are significant across the entire state, not just in the metropolitan area, that work with the disability community. Minnesota Disability Law Center is very much a part of Mid-Minnesota Legal Aid and has statewide reach to provide disability rights, as well as other forms of justice that need to be delivered all across the state. So the bottom line here is this slide really demonstrates how that investment that we've been talking about gets far and it's really one of the most all-encompassing investments in the entire country. But certainly as being an Eighth Circuit guy is what I tend to call myself. There's no question that what we achieve here in Minnesota is something to be very proud of. Now, the people we serve, this is oftentimes something that when I'm interacting with folks around the state, both in the bar and organizations and so on, they really don't necessarily get, who is it that you do serve with your free legal services? Well, first of all, you have to be income eligible to receive our services. You have to be very low income. And then secondly, you have to have a civil legal need that we actually prioritize, that we believe and we know are the kinds of legal needs that are most pressing in people's lives and most, frankly, the kinds of things that the justice system that we're also proud of can actually address and can deal with, that there is legal merit to the case. So given that, and frankly, there are no other ways of getting the legal representation. So given that, we have to make a lot of choices all the time about who we represent, how we represent, when we represent, and so on. But that still means that we're representing and working with tens of thousands of people across the state on their legal needs. And just in 2023 at least, we had almost 48,000 people, 48,000 cases closed, but over almost 115,000 Minnesotans that were served by our program. And where are the folks that we serve? Well, they're in every single one of your districts. They're every single nook and cranny of the state of Minnesota. Indeed, that's where we are at, and that's the people we're serving through our various services. And in 2023, 53% of the clients served were Black, Indigenous, and people of color. But frankly, you look across the entire litany of cases that we do, the demographics that we serve, and you'll see that we serve every part of the state. Dory?
Thanks, Milo.
Ms. Rappaport.
So on this next slide, this gives you an idea. We talk about what does a fully funded civil justice system look like? And to give you an idea of just the current ratio of legal aid attorneys that there are for people that are eligible for our services, first look at the number of private attorneys available in Minnesota. So for every private attorney in the state of Minnesota, there are 432 potential paying clients, compared to there's one legal aid attorney for every eligible 5,773 low-income individuals. This is what we're working towards. This is what we are hoping to decrease so that there will be more of us and fewer individuals that are turned away. So if you look at the next slide, you'll see the impact visually. We are really only able to provide some legal services to 45% of the individuals who come through our doors and are eligible for services. This is the current capacity reality of civil legal services.
And not only do we think in terms of our work about how are we in fact ensuring that families have more security in their homes, that they're able to ensure that they can pay their bills, that they're able to contribute to their communities. We keep track of all these outcomes. We also think in terms of the economic impact that we make at legal services. We know that for every dollar that's being invested in civil legal services in Minnesota, at least $4.32 is returned. That is through ability to retain income, ability to retain assets, the ability to get benefits, things of that nature that otherwise would not happen but for the legal services that our civil legal service system provides. So very, very important community and economic impact that we make across the board.
Your investment this last biennium was incredible. And it helped us move the dial in a way that we desperately needed to move the dial. You can see that now we're looking at starting salaries of staff attorneys at civil legal aid programs. I'd say the majority of civil legal services programs are now up to starting salaries of $80,000. And just to give you context, I remember when I started working at Legal Aid, it wasn't that long ago, but it was a little while ago. Starting salaries were at $45,000. We've come a long way, and we are very, very appreciative, but it's a moving target. So if you look at the next slide, this has been the impact of raising salaries for sure. In 2021, we were bleeding. Our turnover rate was 32%. We came to you and we told you about it, and there has been an investment in salary parity improvement for civil legal services during this time, and we are happy to report that in 2024, our turnover rate is now 14.6%. So that has decreased the rate by over half since that hard time in 2021. But like I said, it's a moving target, and we could easily slip backwards. We were asked 2 years ago, what would it take to fully fund a civil legal services? And so we put our heads together and came up with a 6-year plan. A 6-year plan that looked like a lot of salary improvement, but also building capacity. And last biennium, we received this historic increase, and it helped us move the marker to where we wanted to be by the end of year 2 in that 6-year plan. So then, for this next budget request, we looked at what we had on the 6-year plan, and then in November, we saw the forecast, and we said, maybe we should take a step back and think about stretching this out. And so we stretched out our 6-year plan to now a 10-year plan. And you can see that for fiscal year 26, we're asking for an additional 8.83 million over base. And in fiscal year 27, we are asking for an additional 20.508 million over base for a total of 29.338 million. Again, this is part of our plan to work on salary improvement for staff and also simultaneously build capacity so we are able to help more individuals with their critical needs. Equal access to justice is a value to all of us, and your continued support and investment to addressing this access to justice gap helps ensure that you are truly providing critical services to all Minnesotans, ensuring that access to justice is not just a privilege, but it is a right. Thank you, Chair. Thank you, members.
Thank you, Ms. Rappaport, Mr. Mumgarde. Any questions or comments from members of the committee? Senator Westland.
First of all, thank you so much for the work that you do. And, I know what is most difficult probably for attorneys working specifically in civil legal aid is the triaging of cases and understanding that, the cases that you're taking are cases that involve kids, domestic violence, and so on and so forth. So I thank you for filling that gap. And I do want people to understand also that there are those who qualify for civil legal aid services, and there is a huge, huge number of people who technically do not qualify for legal aid, but who literally cannot afford an attorney when they need one. And so when we're having conversations this year about legal services and some other topic areas, the people who are seeking legal services often aren't the super wealthy. They're just average, everyday working folks who find themselves suddenly in the need for an attorney. It's not anything they've budgeted for. They're getting a divorce or something has happened in their family and so on. And so what you are doing is so incredibly important. We had the discussion with Mr. Shorba about the judicial process. You help cases move forward, and you help ensure that people have access to good legal representation so that they can make good decisions, and so cases can settle before they really clog up our system. So thank you for your work, and I certainly support providing some more funding for civil legal services, because it makes an enormous difference. It takes pressure off the court system, and more importantly, as your first story of that first individual shows, it literally changes the trajectory of somebody's life. And so thank you so much for your work. But I do want to make sure people understand that that there are a lot of people who still have unmet legal needs because they technically have an income above what would qualify for legal aid, but who desperately need services and are not able to obtain them.
What you end up with, Senator Westland, are roofers and electricians and lawn care specialists and medical assembly people finding themselves in court playing lawyer for a day. With, in many cases, the same outcome as if I were to try to do medical assembly for a day. Someone's going to get hurt, either me or whoever has to take that medical device. Any other questions or comments right now? Senator Umover-Benton.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you so much for your presentation. It was really great to hear that story at the beginning, to just kind of help us remember the people behind all of this. And I do want to thank everyone for presenting today. Some of what really stood out to me was seeing the salary comparison and the strides that you've made, as well as the strides that our public defenders have made, cutting those resignation rates, increasing applicant pools. That's really compelling and exciting to me. I'm hoping that as we move forward, we can really focus on those lowest wage workers and trying to bring parity, keep up with the success that we've made already, because they play such a crucial role in making sure that everyone can access justice. So that'll be my priority. Thank you.
Thank you to Civil Legal Aid for being here today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to invite for our last presentation the Guardian Ad Litem Board to come forward, please. And members, we're going to hand out an updated PowerPoint presentation. Ms. Baker-Olson, whenever you're ready, go ahead. Do you
Good
need some
afternoon.
help getting the
Thank you. I might need
technology
some
going?
help. I had thought that it was going to be set up.
We're sending help on.
Should just be.
We do have the hard copy in front of all the members of the committee, so if you just want to go ahead, Ms.
Sure.
Baker-Olson, introduce yourself for the record and give us your
certainly can.
presentation.
Thank you. Thank you, members of the committee, Senator Limmer, Senator Latz. Thank you for your timely invitation to come and present today. I have behind me many guardians ad litem. This just happens to be our Guardian ad litem Day in the Hills. So very timely invitation. We're excited to talk about the program and talk about our budget request. So I can get started at this time. My name is Tammy Baker Olson. I am the Guardian ad litem State Program Administrator. The Guardian ad litem Board administers the Minnesota State Guardian ad litem Program. The board is comprised of 3 Supreme Court and 4 governor-appointed members representing all areas of the state. The role of the Guardian ad litem was established in 1974. Guardians ad litem are mandated both by federal and state law. Administration of the program in Minnesota is the responsibility of the independent State Guardian ad litem Board. Guardians ad litem are an independent voice representing the best interests of children. We do not function as the child's attorney and do not provide direct services to children. What guardians ad litem do is help ensure children have their primary needs met and that the court has information to rule confidently. This means they conduct interviews and observe the children and significant people in their lives. They review social service reports, psychologicals, criminal records and reports, attend meetings with other professionals involved. They outline options to make written and oral recommendations in court regarding the short and long-term best interests of children. They monitor court-ordered plans to ensure the children's best interests are being met. And finally, they provide information to the court so that the court can rule confidently. Guardians ad litem are an independent voice representing the child's best interest. And our program is really busy. In the last year, Guardians ad litem advocated for the best interests of over 12,000 children in both child protection and family court and in over 30,000 court proceedings. On the sheet of paper, not the slide, that outlines our org chart, you'll see that the Guardian ad litem Board has in recent years combined the management of 6 of our 10 judicial districts, resulting in financial savings as well as efficiencies. We currently have combined management and oversight in the 1st and 2nd, 6th and 9th, 7th and 8th judicial districts. And you'll notice that we have an independent family court division as well as an independent Indian Child Welfare Act division, ICWA division. Our next slide details all the work that's happening in our ICWA division, so it gives our highlights. The ICWA division is regionalized and specialized statewide. ICWA supervisors and ICWA guardians ad litem are located strategically to build capacity to assign ICWA GAL to all ICWA cases. The division highlights include the completion of an ICWA MIFPA policy manual, as well as a foundations training, UMD tribal training and certification partnership. The Guardian ad litem Board is committed to addressing racial disparities within the child protection system. Through this work, we will cultivate a system and framework of advocacy where all families and children in the state of Minnesota receive equitable outcomes concerning child protection matters. All of this incredible effort starts with extensive training. Guardians ad litem are professionals with diverse backgrounds who have wide-ranging training and education in advocating for children. They are required to have knowledge and advanced training in disciplines such as child development, chemical dependency, mental health, racial equity, culture competency, court procedures, state statutes, community resources, and the list goes on. So why we're here today, our number one priority with our budget request is to address our low wages. Low wages remain the leading cause of all staff departures. Our high employee turnover rates, inability to offer competitive wages or increases, and the impending wave of retirements and inability to fill low-wage positions have had grave consequences. The GAL board and program are unable to fulfill the multiple legal mandates to hire, train, and appoint experienced guardians ad litem to Minnesota's most vulnerable children. This next slide, I believe it's page 11 in your packet, details a comparison that we did with a recent wage comparison study. You'll see that guardians ad litem, in comparison to two other court roles, forensic navigators and dispositional advisors, are well under their starting wages. Guardians ad litem starting wage is currently $23.12 per hour, which is $48,000 annually. Wage equalization will assist the program with employee retention and reduce turnover, which results in higher costs for recruitment and training. I had mentioned in 2023, fiscal year 2023, we commissioned an employee class and compensation study, which revealed an inequity in pay for guardians ad litem when compared to their child welfare and court counterparts. The study further recommended a strategy that would address wage compression and also help ensure internal equity among employees in the same job classification with similar years of experience. Moving to our fiscal year 26-27 budget request. At this time, we are requesting $16,365,000 for increased compensation, increased employee compensation, and to fund unavoidable health insurance premium increases. We are also looking to invest $476,000 of that increase to help strengthen and grow our volunteer program. This budget will strengthen advocacy for thousands of vulnerable children each year in Minnesota. At this time, I'd like to thank the committee once again for the opportunity to present to you today and open it up for any questions you may have.
Thank you, Ms. Baker-Olson. I do have a question for you. With that proposed budget, what would you be able to increase the starting hourly wage to?
We would be working with the unions at that time to increase to where the peer positions in that class would be. So I don't have an exact dollar amount, but it would get us to where we needed to be.
If, when you get a chance afterward, maybe to fine tune that a little bit to give us a dollar amount, that'd be helpful.
For sure.
Thank you. Senator Westland.
You knew it was going to be me. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
I don't even have to look anymore. I just,
Thank you.
I'll look over here at Senator Westrom, and I'm going to say Senator Westland.
We're in my wheelhouse today. First of all, thank you so much for being here today and talking about the Guardian program. The Guardian program definitely needs some help in terms of their budget and their compensation. I do want to raise a couple of questions or issues that I'm sure you're aware of. I operate in family court, and I will tell you that there are many times that we have a situation where it is a mandated appointment for a guardian, and we're being told we're not going to appoint a guardian. And so one of the things I would be interested in hearing, I noticed there were only like 33 FTEs for family court. Is that for the whole state? And I know that things get triaged and prioritized when you're dealing with tight budgets, but we have a lot of situations too in family court that simply cannot be addressed appropriately or have a guardian appointed where it would be super effective and informative for the judge. Would the budget increase that you're requesting allow for any expansion of staff, or is this really just to raise current compensation?
The only expansion
Baker-Olson.
Sorry, Senator. The only expansion of staff named in this budget was for 2 supervisors to grow the Guardian ad litem volunteer program at this time. The main focus of this request is for current compensation increases for staff, current staff.
Senator Westland.
Mr. Chair, and just to that point, I think I just heard you say you're looking at sort of some volunteer guardians. And I know at one point, I don't know if this was just a Hennepin County thing, but I know at one point it seemed like the volunteer guardians were being sort of moved out and going more to a professional model. So are you anticipating, what are you looking at in terms of staffing with volunteer guardians?
So we're in the
Ms. Baker
process.
Olson.
Sorry, Senator, we're in the process of strengthening the supervision of volunteers as we add to the volunteer pool.
Great,
That's
thank
all
you.
a part of strengthening the program.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Ms. Baker Olson. I know that this is difficult work, and I can tell you that I've had some extraordinary guardians on some very, very difficult cases, and I'm sure you're aware also, I could give you the nightmare stories where the guardian has maybe not been properly supervised, and they have so much power and influence that sometimes it can make cases worse. And so I am happy to hear that you are looking at sort of increasing the volunteers, but also the supervision of those volunteers, because the work that you do is so critical. And I appreciate, for all the guardians here in the room, the work you do is hard. I appreciate you. I thank you so much. And this is a critical tool for our court system. And unfortunately, CPS always has to be the first line of defense that gets the guardians. But I can tell you in family court, we desperately need guardians as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Westland. And of course, we want the judges to be well enough informed so that they can make intelligent and correct decisions in the cases. And if they don't have the resources and they can't simply turn to a clerk to get information, certainly without creating some sort of conflict of interest too, perhaps, the guardians play a critical role. So thank you, all of you in the room who play that role for our children. Senator Kroon.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I just want to amplify Senator Westland's point on the volunteer guardian ad litems. I don't work with guardian ad litems as much as Senator Westland, but I do work with them occasionally in my volunteer role with the Children's Law Center, and they are invaluable. They play an invaluable role in that process and provide a very valuable service. You know, my understanding is that up until a couple of decades ago, this was exclusively volunteers for the most part. And I see the numbers are dwindling down. We only have 15 volunteer guardian ad litems. And I appreciate the efforts to try to bolster that. It seems like we need guardian ad litems however we can get them, whether they're paid, full-time, part-time, volunteer, whatever. We should be encouraging people, qualified people to participate. And you mentioned that you're in the process of that, but also that there's some supervision of the volunteer guardian ad litems. And I'm wondering if you could elaborate on what the issue is there with the supervision.
Ms. Baker Olson.
Thank you, Senator. Not so much that there's issues, we just need bodies to supervise future volunteer guardians ad litem.
Chair.
Senator Kroon.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you for that response. So I guess that's just a comment of mine that however we can provide assistance and just a comment to you that to kind of foster that relationship with the volunteer guardian ad litems and encourage that and try to get those numbers up from 15, because my hunch is that there are some people out there that are willing to do it. And like I said, it's kind of an all hands on deck approach right now, it seems like. So I just wanted to provide that bit of encouragement. Thanks.
Any other questions or comments from members of the committee? Not seeing any. Thank you, Ms. Baker Olson.
Thank you so much.
I'm going to circle back, Senator Westrom. Everyone else had a chance to introduce themselves briefly to the committee and to the people in the room. If you take a brief moment and introduce yourself as well as a new member of the committee.
Mr. Chair, it looks like we've got about 10, 20 minutes of committee time left, so I should be able to fill it.
You might find yourself solo after about one.
I'll be brief, Mr. Chair. Senator Tory Westrom from Senate District 12, which is central and western Minnesota, Alexandria, Sauk Center, Morris, Ortonville, Glenwood areas. And glad to be added to the Judiciary Committee. I am an attorney also and have a small law practice. And so topic is of certainly of interest. So glad to be here.
Thank you. Senator Westrom, welcome to the committee. Members, the next hearing is going to be Monday, January 27, 2025. Senator Limmer will have the gavel, and his office will let you know what the agenda will be when the time is appropriate. Members, you have a folder in front of you. For those of you who have been here last year, it contains whatever it is that you left in your folder from last year. However, at the next meeting, you're all going to get a new clean folder that will be empty. So we encourage you to take this folder with you, take whatever you want out of it so that you can save it, and you will get a brand new folder at the next meeting. Without any further announcements, thank you, and we are adjourned.